Good day, everyone, and welcome to Debate Cameroon Perspective. My name is Terence Agbo, and I'll be co-moderating today's perspective with my humble friend Harry Fon, who likes to go by the name Tres Catos. He will be running most of today's show because he has a very strong interest in business, and I believe all of you also have a strong interest in business. Today's perspective is a roundtable discussion on doing business in Cameroon, experiences, challenges, and recommendations. Our panelists for today's roundtable are individuals who have distinguished themselves in what they do and unique in their experiences they will be sharing today with us. In any economy, business plays a huge role as it is the engine of the economy which provides jobs that allow people to make money. It also provides goods and services that people can buy with the money they make. Without business, the economy would be difficult, would be very inefficient and all primitive. Businesses also create job opportunities because they need people to produce and sell the goods and services to consumers. The major driver of every economy is business. Business also plays a vital role in the development of every economy. In our situation today, we'll be talking about Cameroon. And Cameroon suffers from weak governance, hindering its development and its ability to attract investments. It ranks 152 out of 180 countries in the 2018 Transparency International Corruption Perception Index. And in terms of business, it ranks 163 out of 190 economies in the World Bank Doing Business 2018 report. Therefore, it is very important. It is of cardinal importance in every economy because every economy needs business. It is against this backdrop that we at Debate Cameroon Perspective and the Big Debate felt it is high time to discuss doing business in Cameroon. Today, we intend to discuss some of the following aspects regarding doing business in Cameroon: how to set up a business, the legal requirements, obtaining a business license, the experiences of our guests who have been doing business in Cameroon, their success stories, as well as the challenges they face or faced and how they did navigate themselves through all this. Their recommendations on, firstly, any new individual who wants to go and do business in Cameroon, what they will advise them, but also what they could have done before setting up that business, which would have improved them. And finally, their recommendations to the government on how they could improve the business environment. Those are, among others, will be discussed in the next 2 hours. So please do brace for an exciting and brilliant discussion from our guests. At this time, I will let my co-moderator, Harry Fon or Tres, to introduce our guests. We'll be running most of the show, and so I'll be here just to assist him. So thank you very much, and good evening, everyone.
Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome again to another episode of Perspective, hosted by Debate Cameroon. Like the co-moderator, Terence Agbo said, we have our platform is full today. We have some very enticing, very knowledgeable panelists that would share the panel with us. And I'll start by introducing Mildred Bejuka. She's a barrister at law in Cameroon, a patent lawyer, and she does a lot of work extensively setting up businesses in Cameroon. So it would be definitely a pleasure for people who want to establish businesses in Cameroon to reach out to her, to know you, because you have to know your environment before you get in and jump in. Some of the mistakes that we know we do, and we'll talk about this at length at some point, is just rushing into Cameroon because we were born there and not knowing the laws or not knowing the dynamics. So our lawyer, resident lawyer, is going to help us understand the playing field, what the legal ramifications and requirements of doing business in Cameroon. We also have Adeline Sede. She's a returnee. That's one of the things that we wanted to have, because a lot of the audience today are people in the diaspora. So Adeline used to live in the UK, and she decided that it was time for her to go back home and set up her business. She's a CEO of Fab Magazine, and she'll talk more about the other projects that she has going on in Cameroon. But Adeline is a CEO in her own right, and it's also it's an opportunity that we have a caliber of a CEO on the show. At some point, we're going to welcome Roland Fomundam, who is CEO of agricultural company in Cameroon. He is doing a phenomenal job trying to encourage people to get into agriculture, which is also one of the domains that we're going to touch once he gets on. And later on, at some point, if we're privileged, we're going to have Stanley Akise, who is CEO of Stanley on clothing line in the DC metropolitan area in the United States of America. So without further ado, we know Cameroon lost about 30 minutes ago to Nigeria, and we would like to pacify the Cameroonian population who are not really happy right now with the results of that game, that we can still move forward to make some money for ourselves. So this topic would be enriching to those people to make up for the loss that they just suffered. So I would have Mildred have the first say. Mildred, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Harry.
Hi, Mildred.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mildred. Hi, Harry. My childhood friend. It's been a while. I'm happy to be on the same platform with you today. It's my
Thank
pleasure. Hi to everyone. It's my pleasure to be here today to actually share with you the requirements, what it takes to invest in Cameroon. If you want to become a business owner, what you ought to know, where you ought to go, and who you have to meet. First, before I get into that, I would like to precise that um, in my experience as a barrister for over close to 11 years or more, clients come to me only when they've made the mistake. They come to me only when they've actually start facing difficulties in trying to implement their business. I would like to encourage the audience, especially those in the diaspora, if you think you want to come back home to set up your business, please have in mind that it's important to contact the right people. Now, if you want to set up your business in Northwest or in Southwest, please have in mind that you could contact a local resident lawyer. Why? Because in the Northwest and in the Southwest, lawyers play a double role. They actually play the role of barristers and they also play the role of notary public. Now, who are those responsible to accompany business developers, businessmen? I would say our fellow youths in the diaspora who would want to come back home to invest. The Cameroon law states that those responsible or those who have the competence to actually accompany them are notary public. Please do not fall in the hand of those who stand by the road telling you, oh, we can do this for you, we can do that for you. No. Can you have that information? You can just click on that, you can just Google on Google to have the list of the registered or recognized notary publics in Cameroon, and Google will give you the information of every notary public found in Cameroon, wherever their location is. Now, if you want to implement your business in Yaoundé or in Douala, it's very specific. Please contact just a notary public. A lawyer doesn't play the role of a notary public in Douala or in Yaoundé. The law is very clear on it. In places where a lawyer plays a double role is in the northwest and in the southwest region of Cameroon. If you want to implement your business or start up your business in Yaoundé or in Douala, please go to a notary public. You could contact a lawyer for advice. You could contact a lawyer if you need due diligence before you actually set up your business. What do you mean by due diligence? You come to Cameroon, you don't know what the law says, you don't know who to meet, you don't know the business environment, you don't know what the tax law says. You walk up to your lawyer, you walk up to Mildred and say, hey, I want to start up a business. What does the law say? What do I have to do? That's my role. I will tell you the Ohada law. This you have a text here. This is the law which governs business in Cameroon. You have the Ohada law. Everything is well stipulated in it. Once your choice is made, or once you've identified the type of business you would want to do, being agriculture, being tourism, be no matter the kind of business you want to do. Now there are two forms of companies you could set up. It's up to you. Now you could set up a business under a sole proprietorship, or you could set up a business under a public limited liability. What is sole proprietorship business? A sole proprietorship business is what we locally call a one-man business. You have Mildred, let me be very explicit. You have Mildred who has a little income. She comes to Cameroon. She wants to set up maybe a clothing line and her capital is not much. She may have 1 million francs, which could be about $4,000 for those in the US. It's enough to come to Cameroon and set up a business under what we call a sole proprietorship business. Now, what is the requirement to actually set up a sole proprietorship business? You need your ID card or your birth certificate. Once you have your ID card or your birth certificate, if you're in Bamenda or you're in the Southwest, please go to a lawyer. Once you have your ID card or your birth certificate, you have your capital, which could be, I don't know, 1 million francs. Now, once you go to a lawyer will ask you, what type of business do you want to do? You need to identify the type of business you want to do. Is it agriculture? Is it fashion? Is it tourism? Is it it depends on you. Now, once you've identified the business you want to do, you've identified your location, you've identified your amount, you've identified where you want to set up the business. Now, the notary public will actually go to the courts or call it the courts registry and obtain what we call and will actually register the business. We call it your registration document. With this registration document, the next step, what next do you need? You need your taxpayers card. From then on, you go to the closest taxation office because the way it's organized, you have taxation offices in different locations based on where your business is located. You go to the closest taxation office with your registration document. Now, you need a copy of your leave to actually identify that the business is located in a particular spot. Then you also need the ID of the business owner. You also need a token of about 1,500 francs. Once you go to the taxation office, now you'll be established a taxpayer's card. The taxpayer's card is very important because it carries the number on which the business is defined. Then after which you can start operating business. But please note that at that point, please, because that's where most business people actually fall prey. At that point, you are the first employer of the business. You, the boss of the business, you are the first employer. You owe yourself an obligation to actually go to the very next social security social insurance security office and register yourself. You either go there or you go to a level inspectorate and actually declare your business and you actually have to register your employee. What's the essence of it? The essence of it is doing business. After a while, we do not have the same energy to go over the same business. We actually need to save up for our retirement. We actually need that token, at the end of the day where we could actually offer ourselves the minimum when we are on retirement. So once you register your business with social insurance security fund, now there is a token done. There's a token where which you have to pay to that fund every month, which will be staying for, I guess, for about 16 years. And after 16 years, there's social security fund or CN will then now in return be paying you some sort of allowance, your pension allowance, like we call it here. So for a sole proprietorship business, basically that's a procedure, and that's what you ought. Now for the
Mildred,
second one,
Yeah.
Mildred,
yeah,
Mildred, just I know within structure, and thank you for that information. I like within structure. That's a lot of information that you've put in. We're gonna come back to it. We're just gonna go in segments, right? And we already seeing people reacting, and they're saying that all of that stuff is it's in the books. It's not real. So we will come back to these issues because the people are boiling up, and you could see reactions of people not trying to know the law, but trying to still go behind, and then when the law hits them, then they want to fight. So we're gonna touch on all of these things, but we should just go in a way where it's kind of like chronological, right? So everybody understands, and then we follow some kind of order, right? So
right.
I'll bring Adeline in. Adeline, before you tell us about yourself, I want you to tell us the story because, like I said, a lot of the people that are watching today, there are a lot of people in Cameroon too, but also there are those people who have that burning desire to want to return home. And there's that fear. If you look at the comment section right now, it's heavy with doubt. And what pushed you? What did you see that some of us are not seeing that made you say, you know what, I am ready and to go back home and start a business. So tell us a little bit about yourself and then add that segment into it.
Hi everybody, and thank you for joining. So impressed with the views and the comments so far. I'm Adeline Sede Kamga, and I founded a lifestyle magazine in the UK almost 10 years ago, and we were running quite smoothly. We were on the shelves, distributed by a national distribution company, and then my husband had an opportunity to move to Africa for a job. So I decided to come back with my family to Cameroon, not because I really wanted to come back at the time, but because I saw other opportunities, because my husband had this opportunity and I had to follow him. And before coming to Cameroon, I had a plan. And the plan was to launch my magazine in Cameroon, set up an office, and continue to print magazines and publish magazines and share the stories. But when I came back home, I realized the realities on the ground were not the same. It wasn't as fancy or as a fairy tale as I had thought. So the bad side was that it never did pick up as I wanted because the majority of the people with whom I connected on a daily basis were French speaking, and my magazine was predominantly or purely English speaking, having been launched in the UK. And that didn't stop me though, because all around me I saw opportunities that I did not see when I was abroad. Sometimes when we stay abroad and we're thinking of starting a business in Cameroon, the solution is not for us to stay back there and say, I want to go to Cameroon and do this. The solution is to look further than what you actually want to do, because there are a lot of opportunities in here in Cameroon that people with skills, talent, and expertise can exploit and make a lot of money for themselves. So that is the story behind my move.
Okay. So and thank you for that. Thank you for that brilliant answer. I saw Roland showed up. We'll bring Roland up in a second. Terence, if you can bring Roland up in a second.
Roland is here now. So good evening and welcome, Roland.
Right. So Adeline, that was a brilliant perspective that your husband had a job. I actually thought it was the returnee story that I was hoping that it would be. But nonetheless, it was good. It's also good. No, this is a forum that we're going to generate a lot of questions out of the reactions that we get. So you were on the ground and you saw other opportunities that were not what necessarily were your original interest, and you were able to piggyback on that and then grow out of that. So we'll come back to that. We will touch on that in relation to the legal aspect, because again, a lot of the problems are going to be the legal part of doing business in Cameroon. Now, let's introduce Roland. Roland Fomundam. I would also assume you're a returnee, because the last time I know you, you were in Boston. I don't know if that was your permanent resident at some point, or you were just there doing some training and then you moved back to Cameroon. But I'll let you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your company that you own, and the projects that you're currently working on, and if you're a returnee or not.
Before I get into that answer, what's the definition of a returnee?
Somebody that stays in like a diasporan who's ready to go back home, so they're returning back home.
Okay. Well,
so for work
thanks.
or for business or.
Yes, well, thanks for having me. Sorry for the minor delays. I am on the ground and of course had some technical difficulties getting connected. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. We let the screen for you alone so that you speak to the people. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
So go ahead. Yes, we can hear you. So go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my name again, Roland Fomundam. I am the brain behind Greenhouse Ventures. My company is involved in developing and deploying the low-cost greenhouse technology. We are also involved in growing crops using the greenhouse technology for several markets. And we also train several participants in the areas of greenhouse farming and sustainable agriculture. Well, my move to Cameroon, it's not one of those that was anticipated, but as the more frequent I started making my trips back home, of course, I had a desire and now the need to make home a place where I could be more stable and focused. So my move started soon after I graduated. At the time, I was focused on developing technologies. We developed technologies like the solar dryers, solar cookers, solar dehydrators, corn deshellers, and several. And we realized that in the areas in which we were selling, which were mostly the rural areas, the people there could not actually afford the technology. So we had an issue where it was either we scale down the technology, which would mean you scale down the value and its price, or you have to go out to be able to subsidize or provide these technologies as donations. Anyways, we realized that none of those methods were sustainable. Our next, how do we empower these very locals who were mostly involved in agriculture so that the agricultural activities could become more productive and more profitable? And that's how the idea of the came to technology. Of course, many countries that are excelling in agriculture, country in Cameroon or Africa, being a desert, and they're doing so well. You look at a country like Holland, being a very small and tiny country, and they are still doing so well. Look at countries like Kenya and Nigeria. I mean, there are several countries that, under normal circumstances, shouldn't do better than Cameroon or countries of Africa. So we took upon us to further see how we could make this greenhouse technology more culturally compatible and find a way to engage many more people in using it for cultivation. And that's what we've been able to do. Me moving back home, I wouldn't say I have moved back completely, because I still get to travel back and forth. I still have a lot of interest. I still have business back in the US. And I think for me, I very much define myself as someone who's one leg in, one leg out. And I think it is the best way for me to be, because for me, it has always been that I want to be able to bridge the gap between the Western world and Africa. And so today, I'm looking to do business in many countries in Africa, but also link them up with the resources and opportunities that are in the Western world. That's a little bit about what we do. I think I'll be glad to add into it as we go on. Thank you.
No, it's been brilliant and fantastic, and thank you. And now that we have the first three sets of panelists, and again, we're still waiting for Stanley Akise. If he does make it, he had notified us that he was running a little late because he had some businesses to attend to. I'll pull up Terence Agbar. If you have any particular questions, or I could proceed, but I'll let you take the lead.
Yeah, I'll probably be starting with Adeline. I know, Mildred gave an extensive introduction of herself and some of the legal requirements needed to make business, to do business in Cameroon. And then also, my take-home message from that, I will summarize that before I go to Adeline, is that if you are in the Southwest or the Northwest, or they call it the common law region, then you need to you should contact a lawyer, because they also function there as a notaries. But if you are in the other parts of Cameroon, then you need to contact a public notary for advice. But if you also need any advice before starting any business, you can contact any lawyer anytime, so that you get the legal implications or requirements of doing a business. Another thing about business, especially a sole proprietor, is that you also have to go to the taxation office to get your tax card, and then next you go to the social security or social insurance office to get a social insurance number. For people who are migrating to Canada, they always ask you about that card to show that you are working. So that was very useful information. Thank you very much for that. And Adeline, the question I have for you, or maybe I'll probably just want you to expand a little bit on the kind of business you do these days, and how is the business environment? Or
all right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Terence. I think it's doing business in Cameroon. I love the topic. It's quite complicated. It's quite challenging, and there is no formula. I mean, it's true that we have all the legal requirements in place, but we move ahead, we go ahead, and we shape our businesses as we see necessary. When I came back, as I said, I came back to set up the magazine, and it didn't work. It didn't work not because it couldn't, but I've already pointed out the challenges, so I won't go back there. But the opportunity that I saw was an opportunity of operating as an executive coach and a corporate PR. Now, there was a huge gap in the industry. There was basically nobody doing it. You had a few journalists.
So, sorry, Adeline, for the I would like you, before you proceed, to tell us what an executive coach and a corporate PR does.
Okay, an executive coach is basically someone with enough experience, someone who has worked in a level and understand the way that particular sector or that particular area in the business runs. Now, I'm a communication specialist, and I coach my clients on the right strategy and what they need to do in order to grow in my area of expertise. So as an executive coach, I work very closely with corporate executives and advise them on how to move from one step to the other with regard to their communication strategies and plans.
Fantastic. Okay.
So you could be an executive coach in whatever area of your expertise, as long as the person you're advising or coaching is an executive.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, you could go ahead with the point you were making. Okay. So I just wanted people to understand what you do and what an executive coach means.
Okay. Now, being a coach is not just because nowadays anybody can be a coach, but then you have to understand the different dynamics of being a coach. It's not just knowing how to do it, but it's having the technique that is required to support them to make these decisions themselves. And that is where I step in. Now, with regard to the corporate communication, what we do is I set up a little firm. I started with 1 staff and then 2 staff. And I'm so happy Mildred was the first person to speak, because I didn't go into that, all that thing of going to the lawyer, registering that, because when I came, I didn't come to operate at the level in which I did. I came with printing abroad, selling Cameroon, advertise, make money, and that is it. So by the time I've gone to 1 company, 2 company, 3 company, I started having requests from top management asking me for more than just advertising in my magazine. Mm-hmm. And I'm so proud to say my first client that I banked was an international company or Pan-African company, Ethiopian Airlines. And through this first contract, many people tend to know the things that I was doing or that I am doing and tend to reach out for my services. After Ethiopian Airlines, I happened to bag another company, an American company, Ovamba Solution, which is there to support small businesses acquire funds for their business. So positioning myself when I just came back home at this level changed the dynamics for me. So Mildred, post these 2 clients, I now decided to find out what I needed to do, where I had to go and register in order to become the person that, or the business person that I wanted to become. And that is when I started following procedures, and, thank God at that point I didn't make any mistakes or nobody came to me to say, hey, this is what you've done. So right now I operate a full-blown corporate communication company, and I have one of the most prestigious companies in Cameroon under my portfolio. So proud to say that. I mean, Roland can testify, and I help them run not just the communication department, but I help to position and place them on the platform that they want to be on.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's some good in-depth in what you do. So in your kind of business, or in this kind of business that you started doing, what did it take you to do that sudden switch?
What it took me was the opportunity. Yeah, okay. Because I met this director who believed that she could do better in her job. She could do better as an executive. She wasn't getting to the audience that she needed. Mm-hmm. And when she heard me speak, she said, Adeline, I don't think you should be selling advertising spaces in this magazine. I think you should be making more money advising me on what to do. So why don't we sign a partnership with you advising me, or with you supporting me to make sure I attain my targets? And that is how I signed my first retainership. So I run my business on a retainers, how do they call it? On a retainers platform, meaning I hardly do the one-offs. I try to make sure I get commitment, longer period of time, because of course I have an office to run, I have things to pay, I have stuff to pay. So this was a first for me, but it was a first of many.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much for that in-depth information on what you do, how you got into it, and then eventually you started from somewhere, and now you found yourself in a place that you weren't even thinking about it. So, I don't know who you have a question for. Probably would you be speaking with Mildred?
So because, like I said, Mildred touched a lot of things at the start, right? And we didn't. I think we kind of didn't give her a guideline, so she touched everything. And I know Roland missed that, so I want to bring Roland back on for a second. If you can bring Roland back on for a second, because in relation to what Adeline just said, that she initially did not follow the guidelines that Mildred put forth, which is very important. I think that one of the biggest mistakes that Cameroonians do is the over-sabi kind of way of doing stuff, where you just think that you know the system. And Adeline, this is not
Oh yeah, I understand. I understand.
I'm just saying, I'm trying to bring Roland in so that he could tell us if he went through the legal route, because I know you missed out how Mildred tactfully placed out the strategy of starting a business in Cameroon. Like, the first thing that you should do is, first of all, have a business plan, and then talk to the legal minds and the notaries to guide you on how to set up your business. And Adeline said she initially didn't do that, but eventually when her business started, she had to go back and reset. Could you tell us how you structured Greenhouse Ventures? Did you follow the legal routes, or you did this later on?
Yes. Well, I am in the field of agriculture, and it's a field I would talk a few regulations. When we started, of course, we never had a need for going through incorporation and all of that. Usually because in our field, sometimes when you have to get through all the legal and bureaucratic steps, you actually may end up exposing yourself. So for me, it wasn't a priority. For me, it was more or less making sure that I can get my prototypes to work. And yes, we only incorporated a company about 3 years down the road, when of course we were getting a lot of recognition, and you had to start doing business with people in the offices. So that was it for us. I mean, for me in the beginnings was I started my business in my village, and a farm, and I had my clients coming to me right there. I never had a need for having any documents of incorporation and taxations and all of that. But of course, when we had to start doing business out of the region where we were, and of course interacting with several clients and pursuing a lot of other opportunities, like registering with the chambers of commerce and going through the different ministries, of course that became a need, and yes, we had to go through that route. And of course, just like it has been advised, Cameroon, it's one of those places where sometimes they say there is no right, there is no wrong. Who you meet, who you connect with, who works with you, and they're able to give you just the right and perfect advice. So yes, in our case, we have a legal mind in the house, and that way they were able to help us navigate the terrain as it is needed. And I mean, to this moment, it's still, of course, there are those things that you do once in a while, but of course, just keep your eyes out to make sure that you don't default or you don't falter.
All right, thank you, Roland. So I'll bring Mildred in as the legal expert. So Mildred, you see a pattern here, and so first, it feels like, one, we don't trust the system, right? And one, we don't want to go through a system that we don't have enough resources to support us. So we want to go into the field, see how the field reacts, and then when we start to grow, then we go legalize ourselves. If you look at the comment section, that's what they're calling the backdoor strategy, right? That's the way it works. Somebody asked a question about all those restaurants that are being publicized on Facebook right now. Do they have the necessary sanitary licenses? Do they have the healthcare authorization? Do they have all the permits that would require a restaurant to be fully operational? So when you hear the stories, Mildred, as a legal mind, how do we give confidence to somebody who wants to get into a business? Because Roland is on Facebook every day encouraging new investors to get in. I have not seen Adeline, if her business is scalable or it's just a growth within the company. But how do you encourage somebody like me to not follow the same route that Roland went, which for me would be more assuring, and follow the legal route? What can the system put in place to ensure that it's it's a safe bet for the investor.
Thank you very much, Harry. During my expose, there's a very important point I omitted to mention, which is, I think, Adeline, thank you for your expose. Roland, thank you. And I'm sure you both went through that experience. For the first 2 years, when you would have to actually incorporate a business, it, I think there are some exemptions.
Yes.
Yeah. When you have to do your patent, which is locally called here patent, or your business license, that will cost you, in principle, 60,000 francs. But for the first 2 years, you are not required to pay that amount of money. Please note, everyone who has to or who is interested in actually setting up business in Cameroon for the first 2 years, I mean, you're actually cut off that expenses of paying whatsoever for you to actually get your business license. That's a very strong incentive which the law has put in place to attract businessmen to actually come and invest in Cameroon. For I think 24 months is enough for you to actually generate some profit and then be able to generate 60,000 francs to be able to get your license from the third year of your business. If you don't know, that's where the oversabi people we call them make money. That's where they make money. Because when you go to them during this first year, they'll actually tell you they'll actually give you a long list of what you have to pay for and tell you you have to pay 60,000 francs for your license. You have to, some will tell you 24,000, some will tell you 60,000. It depends on who is in front of you. I mean, if Adeline comes with her British accent, I mean, we know she's got enough pounds, you know. I mean, if Roland comes with his American accent, we know he's got enough dollars. I mean, if I charge him $250 for him to set up his sole proprietorship business, you actually fall for it. It's actually free for the first 2 years. So please don't. If you want to set up your business for the first 2 years, it's a sole proprietorship business. It's actually free. It's actually tax exempt. So that's where most business owners actually fall prey. And those people hanging by the road who tell you they can actually facilitate the obtention of your business license, that's where they actually get you. Because you really don't have time, or you may think going to a lawyer could be expensive for you, or going to a notary public would be expensive for you, but please don't be penny wise and pound foolish. Because the amount of money you would spend at the end of the day, you actually realize you spent so much money which you didn't have to spend, and that's money you would have put into your business to actually get out some profit would have helped you actually put into
Hey,
it.
Mildred, let me ask you a question. Then you that would
Mhm.
expand what you're saying right now, and you're actually talking about incentives. Any business wants incentives so that they can grow. Roland wants the government support. Roland is expecting that the government can cut down on some taxes. Pattern would be lower for him. Roland, Adeline wants any kind of incentive that is coming from the government that would grow her business and every other small business out there, because in every economy it's the small business that grows the economy, because they're the ones that are hiring the people to work, creating employment. What
Mhm.
specifically is the government doing so that we know about these incentives? What are they doing? Because I want to know about this incentive before I contact a lawyer. I don't want to contact a lawyer before they're telling me all the government's incentives. I think that those are things that the government should put out there to the population to motivate them to want to do business, right? So what are they doing specifically in that so that guys like Roland, guys like Adeline, guys like Stanleon already know before coming to you, and all you're doing is just shaping them and redirecting them to the right direction.
Thank you very much, Harry. I think bottom line, if we have to be business people and we want to do serious business, then we have to be serious. From Roland's expose and Adeline's expose, right? They told you the mistakes they made. And when they were in the dark corner, actually doing business, I would say in the dark corner, they didn't have as many advantages as they have today. But from the moment they stepped up their game and decided to get into the real box, incorporate their business, you know, I think Roland, maybe he didn't mention here, you have the FOA promote, which is being organized in Cameroon every 2 years. During these events, you have different business people that come from all over the world in Yaoundé. Roland was actually the best businessman. I think he got an award. I think so. Can you confirm that, Roland?
Yes, yes.
You see, so the moment you actually put some seriousness into your business, you actually give yourself, you actually sell yourself. Okay, the moment you know, you actually have to go and register yourself with the Chamber of Commerce, because that's where the government will go to actually sell the business people to their audience. I mean, you won't stay at home and you can't register your business and you think the government should be able to identify you in your house. No, everyone is a win-win thing. Everyone has a role to play. you know the government organizes, you have trade fairs, which we locally call here FWAS. You have the Ministry of Small and Medium Sized Enterprises actually giving out bonuses to NGOs or small companies to actually help them start up. If you don't walk up to them and tell them, look, okay, I have this business, I've registered my company, this is my business plan, how can you help me? You wouldn't know what is existing there. So I'll encourage every businessman who is coming to Cameroon, please. The first 2 years where you have tax or you're tax exempted, exploit it. You have trade fairs which are being organized in Yaoundé, in Douala, in our local regions. Roland operates in Bamenda. I mean, beyond Bamenda, in his village in Bamenda, that he was actually recognized as the best businessman in Cameroon in the trade fair, which was organized here in Yaoundé. I think that's a plus, and everyone should copy from that. And I think he actually got himself that recognition when he decided to actually register his business, get himself on the platform, do what is right, and he actually got the recognition. So if you have a restaurant and you want to operate it at home, where maybe your audience are your neighbors, fair enough, that's okay. But if you think it's a business and the business has to grow, you actually have to implement a bit of seriousness in it. And the basic information you need to give yourself is go to the nearest taxation office or the nearest lawyer or public notary, register your business. Once you register your business, there's actually a platform where your business is being registered, because you have your contact number. For those who have emails, you have your emails. I don't know if Adeline can also testify, but there are times when you actually get text messages actually reminding you, or maybe telling you, oh, your business license is due maybe in a month or two, reminder to renew your business license, or they could actually inform you of an upcoming event, or just the fact that you are on this platform and you get to meet other business people, maybe in an event, you pick up an opportunity. So I think every businessman who wants to set up a business, you should also actually decide to put yourself in conformity with the law, actually get the requirements of the law. What does the law say? Invest in it, and you showcase yourself and you get the advantages that come with it. You
Oh,
can't, at the same time, you don't do what the law asks you to do, yet you expect to get the
yeah.
advantages. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
thank you very much, Mildred, for that. And so we are moving to the next section of the discussion today, which is mostly the challenges. I was going to start with Adeline, but I think Mildred, you mentioned something which is very important, following the law and doing everything according to what is written in the law. So I have a question that has just been sent to me. It seems as if there is a lot of interest on doing business in Cameroon. So before I move to Adeline, I'll probably ask you this question first. So the question is, someone said, yeah, like you mentioned, do what the law says. So in the first 2 years, you don't pay any taxes. What if some mayor, like we know it happens in Boya from time to time, and some of the other cities come to you and say they are going to shut your door because you haven't paid your taxes or whatever based on what the law says? What would you do till you bribe them? What would you do?
please don't actually fall for it. I'll give you my own experience, my own personal experience. when I decided to set up my law office, I actually went to the small and medium-sized enterprise to actually get my license. And when I got there, this guy told me, "Oh, I have to pay 24,000 francs," and I told him, "No, the law doesn't require I pay 24,000 francs." And he told me, "Oh, if I don't pay the 24,000 francs, then I won't have my documents." I said, "Okay, fine." I went up to his boss, and I said, "I don't see why I have to pay this amount of money because I know the law doesn't require that. And by the time he knew it, the boss was already given an authorization for my documents to be established. Please don't fall for those tricks.
Excuse me, Mildred, just for a moment. I think that is very important. But the quick question I have for you is, wasn't that so fast because you're a lawyer?
Well, I don't think so. I think it has to do with what you want, and knowing what you have to do. I really don't think so. You shouldn't if you shouldn't put yourself in a situation where you should easily get intimidated because it's written all over you. Once you fall for that, I mean, it goes through your psychology. Your psychology is beaten, and by the time you know him, you're actually falling for it. But I bet you, if an authority comes to your business and everything, it's like you have the tax police people who are by the road and who are noted for maybe collecting 500 francs from taxi drivers when they do not have their insurance. But by the time they get to see your documents and everything is all right, they are the ones who start telling you to write off or, so by the time this lawyer comes to maybe your restaurant or maybe your little business center, and what the first question he'll ask you is to see your license. By the time you pull that out and you actually know, oh, she knows what she's doing, or this businessman knows what he or she is up to. I mean, that it speaks for itself.
Okay.
So I think if you put yourself in a situation where from the very first question you have to start scratching your head rather than showing your document, you actually open the window to corruption to come in, and you actually have to.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope people are listening out there. Don't fall for it. And even though we know the rule of law has extensive limitations in Cameroon, but at least exercise the fact that you know some of the legal requirements or the legalities involved in setting up a business and getting a license. So, Adeline, my next question is to you because, like, I was very excited with your discussion and your input, but and especially when you mentioned that it was a bit challenging when you started. So now my question is, what are some of the challenges you faced when you first moved to Cameroon, started trying to set up a business, and how did you navigate through these challenges?
Okay. Sometimes in life, we say the people that you meet, back in the days are some of the people that can actually help you when you need something. I kind of had it a little bit easier because I bumped into an old neighbor who happened to be a taxation officer, and I told him what I was doing, and he asked, "So are you registered?" I was like, "No, not yet. I'm just trying to see if it's going to work or not, and then I can register." And he said, "Okay, let me school you on this." We booked for lunch, went for lunch, and he took me through the process. So registering the business was quite easy for me at that point because I had someone who could actually hold my hands and advise me on everything that I needed to do, from the paperwork right up to registering my business in the system. I know Mildred mentioned about notification via SMS or email or phone calls. Unfortunately, I've not been able to receive that. Maybe it's been sent to my company's phone because I don't use that number anymore. But I did register and it wasn't challenging. What is challenging is running the business.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if that is the point.
Yeah, that's the question, because registering is paperwork. You do the paperwork,
yes.
But then eventually how you survive through the business. So basically running, now you have the business, how you run it, and the challenges you encounter along the line.
Okay, before talking about the challenges and the registration of the business, I just want to put aside, apart from running the business in Cameroon, I do run my business out of Cameroon as well. I do have affiliates in other African countries. A few years ago, 2016, I set up one of the first African-owned recognition awards on HR. And the reason why I did this was because I struggled with standards. I realized, especially in the HR, which was my background before jumping into communication, that there was very little standards in Cameroon with regards to policies and procedure. So with the corporate awards that I run at the moment, we are in our 4th year. We've been able to do one in Gabon, one in Cote d'Ivoire, one in Cameroon, and this year we are in Senegal. Now, running a business or running an event, which is part of a business in these other countries, it is so easy, much more than in Cameroon. But I won't want to go into that detail because we're talking about Cameroon at the moment. Yes. I just want you to understand that I don't just have Cameroon experience, but I do have other African countries experience as well. Now, coming back to the challenges of what we have on the ground, I'm going to say Cameroon is a little bit, it's a juxtapose, it's a confused environment, business environment that you have to be streetwise and intellectual-wise in order to make it. Now, I want to list some of the things that make us a confused ecosystem to operate, especially the kind of business that I operate. We have no set standard, meaning if my client is a French company, I tend to do things the French way. If my client is an English company, I tend to do things the English way. If my client is a Cameroon-owned company, I tend to do things the Cameroon way. If my client is an American company, I tend to do things an American way. And if my client is an African client, I tend to do things an African way. So imagine I have 5 different ways of operating standard. And so this
standards.
Basically, there is a set standard that is according to Cameroon law, every company is supposed to follow. But when it comes to certain decision or certain procedure, then people determine what they want to do. For example, I worked with a French, one of 4-star hotels, a French company, international hotel in Cameroon. And when it comes to payment, for example, I was told, and I insist, that if you do not go to this and this office to register your business on this and this platform, then we will not be able to pay you. Okay. So I had to look for cash. I had to go to that office and I had to register my business online so that they can see me online and they can pay me. Now, another company is, okay, you have to wait for the bon de commande. The bon de commande, which is a purchase order. The bon de commande has to tell you this. The bon de commande has to tell you that. The bon de commande has to be dropped on this day, at this time, before this time, and it must take this time, this number of days in order for us to pay you. So that is their own procedure. Now, another client, oh no, don't worry, just bring in the invoice and then they can pay you. Another client, oh no, don't worry, how much is your bill again? And then they can pay you. So what I want to say is that there might be a standard, but depending on where your client is from, they operate as they operate back in their, in their home, or maybe American or British or France. So these are some challenges. One of the challenges that I have is that I find it very difficult to understand when I start working with a particular client, what standard they're going to bring. It has made it in a way that I have a profile of, okay, this is this company, this is how we do it. Now this one, we have to do it differently. And this one, we have to do it differently. And that one, we have to do it differently. So the whole ecosystem of running a business in Cameroon, and the invoicing and the financial part of business in Cameroon is what keeps the business going. And the regularity as well. I know people have been talking about under the table payment and stuff like that. Once we get to that point, I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we'll bring in Roland to discuss some of the challenges he also faced starting his own and eventually doing his own business. So Harry, I think you should go to Roland. Okay, yeah, Roland is in here now.
Roland, thanks for coming back. And we know we keep jumping back and forth, and thank you for your patience. Roland, I know Mildred talked about the 2-year, once you've registered, you have a 2-year layaway where you're not paying any taxes. However, a question came through that how do you advise entrepreneurs whose businesses have been ruined by the finance ministry's taxation policy, which is usually higher than the entire capital of the business? So I don't know if you have any expertise of people whose businesses have been ruined. Touch on that. And then in agriculture, where they tell us that it's the bedrock of Africa, that's the future, we need to all get into agriculture. Tell us some of the challenges that you face on your day-to-day, that some of us entrepreneurs that want to jump into agriculture, we should probably learn to navigate, or we should wear our big boy boots and get ready for those challenges. So touch on that financial policy and that might be destroying businesses, and then other challenges.
Yes. First off, yes, there is a 2-year exoneration which you get once you have a business, especially in the agro sector. But believe me, a lot of that is on the papers. So they will tell you that you get an exoneration, but typically, I mean, I didn't see that difference between what I paid at the time, and because I'll tell you, you're just being exonerated from. I mean, they always have some sort of grammar that they give you. I mean, for me, I didn't put so much time trying to understand it, because there are some things that just leave it to the barristers and the taxation guys to understand it. If you have to put your head to understand everything, trust me, you would waste so much time and not even get to do the business. That's my experience. On the other part, one thing I have noticed, doing business in a place like Cameroon and doing business in a place like the United States, it is odd, it is funny. Many people may disagree, but I kind of enjoy the Cameroonian tax system. To be honest,
could you share with us the reasons why?
Yeah,
Oh boy.
yes. People have a lot of people who have not done business in Cameroon, or a lot of people who have had, maybe some failed expectations, or have had some very adverse, outcomes, always tend to put a blame, on it. And many a times, some people don't even get to understand what actually it is that they actually calling a problem. Cameroon has and the barrister can correct me and anyone out there, Cameroon has a declarative tax system, which means, of course, you declare what you have made or have not made. The other downside to that is that there is a very big penalty when you fail to declare, and that is where many people get to fall for that trap. If you are 2-3 days past the day you're supposed to declare, of course, there's a penalty which is high. It could be as high as anything. But if you are the guy who declares your taxes on time, believe me, you have the right to be able to declare what you made or what you did not make. So I think that can speak already to what I want to talk about here, because it is really up to you now to say, hey, this is what I made. This is what I did not make. And there are some things that, this being a live forum and online, I may not be able to share so many details. I'm always open directly if someone has any questions.
Roland, sorry for the interjection. Sorry for the interjection. So you said there is a day. Is this day dependent on the specific business you do, or there is a specific day for everyone that you need to declare your taxes if you are doing business on this day? This is the last day of every month for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I will not talk for all other industries, but I know for agriculture, I mean, I would think that the whole system is all declarative. Everyone has to declare the system. I mean, Barrister could confirm with me and any tax expert online, but I would really want to just speak for what I know best and which is my
Yeah,
sector
yeah,
that I am in.
I think I understand it. So the question I guess I'm trying to ask is, like, you know, the system in the United States. I know talking about the IRS, or you have a specific day for every individual. This is not unique to business, that on the 15th of April, everyone has to make sure they declare their taxes. I don't know if for businesses in Cameroon, there is a specific day for everyone that on this day, maybe on the 31st of December this year, all businesses have to declare their taxes, or it's just dependent on the business you do, or it's dependent on the individual.
Okay. No. I mean, first of all, where you do get your, the taxation office where you registered at, there is a monthly declaration.
Okay.
So at the end of every month, you have to go and declare that this is what I made, this is what I did not make. For us here, you know, you have, most companies would have about two books. You know, there is that which they keep inside, and there is that which they would declare. I mean, this is just the way, you know, you get people get around a lot of things. And yes, you know, there is a minimum that you declare, and there is a reasonable amount that you also have to declare, and all of that. Then at the end of the year now, all of that has been summed up, and then you do again your teacher de patang and all of that. So I mean, if you go by it and you go very well, of course, you will not have any problems. Once you fail to declare, man, the state can run you down. So that is when people have to complain about taxations and this and that. That's usually where I see the issue coming from. There are also other details that, you know, I would choose to maybe share it on personal, especially if someone is looking to get their business going on here. I mean, I say that, you know, the system has a lot of voids, which is true. It depends how you want to use them. You know, if you're using it for the right or for the wrong purpose. The Cameroon, as many other countries, is not perfect. The system is not all perfect. Some people take advantage of it in the right way. Some take advantage of it in the wrong way. For me, I have not had any problems with any office, any ministry whatsoever. I think, like Adeline pointed out, our biggest challenge in the country is actually doing the business itself. Because we are doing business in an environment where the customers don't even know that they are customers. The customers don't even appreciate the value of what they're being offered. The customers themselves believe that they can do the business for you. So there are a lot of challenges that we face just trying to get our products from source to the end. I think that is really where we are facing a lot of the issues. And talking about the fact that sometimes, you know, the system itself can run you down, it is evident, but also it depends the industry in which you want to get into. We have to understand that there are certain industry sectors in the country that have been monopolized by certain individuals. And once you get in there, especially for us who are young, worst case for us who come from outside, you pose a very, very big challenge. You pose a very big threat to them. And many a times when they don't know how to compete with you, they take very unorthodox means. So I think, you know, the understanding that you're doing business in a place like Cameroon, not America, you have to be able to understand it. Just like Adeline pointed out, many people make that mistake where you live in America, you write a business plan, and then you want to come and implement it in Cameroon. It doesn't work that way. The business plan, leave it for the American investor. Just leave it once you enter the plane. Once you get to Cameroon, everything is based on how it is on the ground. Exactly. What I had in mind when I started is not what I'm doing right now. As a matter of fact, I did not even see myself in the business sector that I'm in. I just wanted to come in and sell my greenhouses and live. Now I have to grow the crops and supply. I have to train people. I have to work partners. There's everything that you have to do. And that's the beauty of doing business here. but it could also be very, very challenging, especially if you are not ready. So what I always say is that those who, for many a times, will pose those many complaints and whine and this and that, you are just not ready. And you cannot want to leave out of Cameroon and then think you can do business in Cameroon. It really doesn't happen that way. We don't have an ecosystem that enables you to be able to, like in America, you can live on the islands and your business is going on so smooth. We don't yet have that luxury here. We are the ones to build for doing the business, and you're actually the one to make it run. I mean, we live in a system where me, for example, when I'm not in Cameroon, my clients will not even pay any checks. They say no, they want Roland to be here first. It doesn't even matter how much. They want you, they want your face. So business in Cameroon is one of that which is not about the company, it's about the individual.
Exactly.
So you are the business. Forget about the name of the company, forget about everything else. You are actually the business. So to make it work, it's all about you and how you deal with your respective clients. Like we've heard from all the others, when you're dealing with the French guy, you act the French way. When you're dealing with the English, you do it the English way. With a German, with a Cameroonian, all of that, you have to put all of that in that perspective. You have to study each and every one in their own constituency, in their own very way, and you have to do business with them the way they want it to be done. As a matter of fact, we, the business owners, we have to be very flexible. I mean, there are times where your customer doesn't come to your shop. You actually go to their own office to make a sale to them. You actually go to their homes to make sales to them. You have to invite them out to make a sale to them. Some customers are just too big to have to come to your office, and that's fine. For us, we're here to do business, and we walk around. Sometimes many people see me, I'm trying to catch a bike, I'm trying to do this because if you have to drive a car from one end to another, and then you miss all your appointments in a place like Douala. You miss every appointment that you have to have. So you have to be able to adapt to the current system. Yes.
Let me spring you off a little bit, and then we'll touch on some other things. Some people want to talk about the port authority, so we'll get to that in a second. But let me spring you off a little bit on
Harry,
that. Yes.
Just hold on for a second. Yeah, just before you ask that question, because I think I've seen a lot of questions on that. Adeline just wanted to add something on what Roland was saying.
Okay, go ahead, Adeline.
Yeah, just very briefly, Roland. I think I'm truly happy you brought up this point about people paying you only when you are around. I'm just going to give you a short 30 seconds scenario. A few months ago, my family had to unfortunately move back to the UK, and my business is booming in Africa. So I am in between Africa and England. So right now, the money only comes when I'm surplus, because my face is the business. So Roland, how I've tried to solve that problem recently is I've tried to, because I have a team that I've built over the years and I do trust them. So I've tried to make sure I introduce my team to the client, creating the account management system where the team is in charge of making sure the process is from start to finish right up to payment time. So far, we're still struggling to see this work, but I think this is going to work if I do put my foot on the ground and make it work. But it's work in progress, so you're absolutely right. And we should be mindful of things like this when we want to set up a business in Cameroon.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Adeline. So, I mean, that aspect of trust, which is like a very, very big impediment in doing business in Cameroon in particular, is something maybe if we have time, we'll touch base a bit on that. Because a lot of people, when I posted this discussion, a lot of people talk about the businesses they try to do back while they are not in Cameroon, that like because of trust, there's a lot of abuse. So I think we may touch a bit on that, but I will let Harry to ask the question you wanted to ask to.
Yes, Roland. I just wanted to have Roland spring up on this. The aspect of culture. Adeline also touched on that when you're dealing with the French, you have to have a French culture. You're dealing with the Asians, you have to have an Asian culture, the Americans, and something like that. The locals, who are the largest market, that's the market, about 25 million people who are your main consumers of your product, Adeline included. How do you change their mindset because I what I hear from what Roland is saying is we're adapting to the locals than trying to change them to adapt to a new wave of doing business. So is there any way, and I think Adeline kind of touched on, she's beginning to change some things in her own avenue. Roland, in your own way, what are you doing to change the mindset of the people and not just saying that, you know what, this is Cameroon and this is how it's going to be?
Well, it depends whose mindset you're trying to change and in what direction you're looking to change that. I have several groups of customers that I am working with. So I'll give you a typical scenario. So we produce bell peppers. I think for now we're probably the only ones growing those particular variety of bell peppers. We tried for the longest time to sell to supermarkets, but the supermarkets would not want to take them for several reasons. One, they wanted us to sell under their own brand, which would mean that you would not know that I am the one growing them. They wanted their brand to actually list it that, well, these are products from Mexico, from France, and this and that. And the other aspect is that they were not trying to buy the price that I was offering them. And it was okay if they just kept importing their bell peppers and selling at the price. Of course, the excuse was that their customers are not yet, their customers' mindset is not ready for Cameroonian grown bell peppers that is being sold for 13,000 francs a kilogram. What did we do? It took us over a year to even ever get to break through that. As much as we tried, we realized that it wouldn't work. All we had to do was to breach them, selling to the same people who go and shop at these very supermarkets. And that's how we came up with a home delivery system. That, okay, instead of these same guys trying to, spend time, go to the supermarkets, we just deliver to them at home at a price that is cheaper for a product that lasts a lot longer, but then something that we've been able to define the value to them. So there are certain, like I said, there are certain mindsets that you may really want to change, and there's some that you just have to see how you beat the odds. And of course, if you want to focus on changing mindsets, then you might as well just make your business changing mindsets, because it might be something that you do. You might have to do it day in, day out.
Okay.
Why do I say so? Because on the other end, even coming to even some of my employees, coming to my the other people that I have to sell greenhouses to them, people would always tend to doubt you in the very beginning. Well, why does this thing work? Do I really need it? Then they even have to invalidate your own very position. How come somebody lives from America to come and do farming in Cameroon? Why is that? So there are several things that, if you want to keep trying to respond to each and every one of them, then bro, you might just end up, trying to do that as an entire business, which you will realize that it's not sustainable. So for us, we keep focus on our very main goals, and you have to just keep trying to do what you have to do, because like they say, if you have to start stopping and staring at every dog that barks, then you will never make it to destination. So I think here there are battles that you choose to fight against, and there are some that you just ignore and just keep moving forward. My end goal is proving the point, making the answers, showing your end results, and after that, many people would now start believing in you. Where we are today, we've come a very long way. We've been disapproved so many times, even by the minister, even by the prime minister, to the point where they said, young man, pack your things and go back. These things don't work in this country. If the government doesn't endorse your product, you're going nowhere with it. I mean, you get, feedback like that. But for me, I have always believed in what I have. I have seen it work in other places. We are making it work in many other ways. So it wasn't about listening to all these naysayers. It was more or less just proving that point to them that, hey, against all odds, you can still make it even.
Okay. Thank you for that. Now, I don't know how much experience the three of you have with dealing with ports. Since Roland, for example, you are doing a lot of homegrown, you're planting and you're growing. I think maybe you're about to start exporting rather than importing. Adeline, you're in the services industry, so I don't know how much knowledge you have with dealing with the ports. But I'll bring Mildred in on this. Mildred, we have some of the biggest issues in Cameroon, known to everybody, is clearing goods from the ports. Now Kribi port is operational. Could you enlighten the people outside who are into exportation, be it used goods, any kind of product that they want to do, medical supply, school supply, charity? What else? Some of the frustrations in the comment section is the bottleneck that goes on in the port authority. How do you break that down so that the person can see some return on their investment? And what is this blockage that constantly happens in the ports, be it in Douala or in Kribi?
Thank you very much, Harry, for your question. Please permit me before I get to that question. There was something I wanted to add to what Roland said
Sure, go ahead.
about the tax declaration system. I just wanted to precise that in Cameroon, it's done on um, or the 15th of every month. You must declare your taxes to the tax center where you're registered. And also, talking about your income declaration, you have to be careful because what the law says is once your company is established, you actually go to the bank with your company documents and create a bank account, a company bank account. Now, in principle, clients have to or must or should pay you make payments into your company bank account. Now, once payment is made into your company bank account, you do declarations based on the payment you receive from 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 your account. Now, it's up to you. If you decide to play over the amount while doing control, you also have to. I mean, so sometimes we may think maybe certain weapons or maybe certain instruments are not put in place, which can actually control or actually see how finances are being moved in and out of our business, but we should also be careful. That's why if we really actually want to build a solid business, we must and should be loyal to our own selves and with our business. Okay, with that said, I'll go to the questions on the board. Like I started off saying, please go to experts. In every domain, you have experts. When it comes to importation and exportation of goods into and out of Cameroon, you have experts, licensed experts, recognized by the government, and who are specialized in doing that. If you decide to go to the port by yourself and actually, the law doesn't compel you to actually go through the expert, but it's safer, it's cheaper for you when you go to an expert and say, hey, I have this car to actually get out of the port. What does the law say? What am I supposed to pay as taxes? You know, and they'll actually tell you what you have to pay in maybe 100 francs, 200 francs, and your fees will be included on it. Now, in practice, what we see is most business people actually always actually think the fees which they are being charged for actually getting this job done is exorbitant, and they would always try to do the maybe clearance of the goods themselves, and when they are stuck or when they should have even spent much more than what they ought to have spent, then they come back to you and telling you this is what I've done so far and I was charged this amount or asked to pay
So,
these amounts.
excuse me, Mildred, just before you proceed with what you were saying, sorry for the interjection. At least I already mentioned to you at the beginning that I will be interjecting a lot, so my apologies. So who are these experts and where can you find them?
Well, in cities like Douala, if you go to the institution in charge of I've forgotten the name, in charge of import and exportation of goods in Cameroon, you actually have the list of licensed offices who are responsible for clearance of or companies who are in charge of clearance of goods or maybe exporting or importing
Important.
goods in
Okay.
Cameroon. Yes. If you actually go to these institutions and ask, I have goods on the port, can you give me a list or a contact of an accredited expert or accredited company responsible for the clearance of goods? You actually have the information. That's why it's always important to actually go to these experts or go to these institutions and do some findings for yourself or contact a lawyer, and say, hey, I have my goods at the port. I would like to clear my goods. Where do I have to do? What do I have to go? Whom do I have to contact? That's where the lawyer steps in and carries out what is called due diligence. You may be in the US, you may not know what to do. You may just write to your lawyer and say, "Oh, this is what I have my goods at the port. I have to clear. I don't know what it takes. What I have to pay. Can you give me the basic information?" The lawyer may charge you a minimum fee, and the lawyer will get the right information from you and put you through with the expert in charge of doing the job for you. And definitely you have to pay a fee for that, which most times is cheaper than what you would spend if you decide to go through the back door.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I know today it's very unfortunate. I've seen a lot of comments on the taxation system. It's very unfortunate we don't have a tax expert here. But maybe in future, in another edition in the future, we'll have someone in the who is an expert in the taxation system. Because one of the questions that keep on coming is what are the determinants? How do they determine the tax, the levy on a specific company or on a specific business? So that's a very, very big issue. And my understanding is that there is the law there is not black and white. I might be wrong here, but yeah, maybe if you have some insights, you can just give us a clue before we move to the next section.
Yeah. Well, personally, I would share my own experience. What my advice I would give is, once your business is established, or once you're doing your billing or your invoice, please always include your VAT. Your VAT is borne by the client. The client, you include your VAT before doing the final invoice and you send to the client. Now, once the client pays you, when you go to do your tax declaration on the 15th, this extra amount, this VAT, which is usually maybe 19.25 or 5.5, depending on the structure, that is what you pay to the taxation office. It doesn't come from your own personal fees, which is being paid to you. But if you forget to include the VAT on your invoice, which you are giving your client, I'm sorry, then you would have to deduct that from your own fees when doing your declaration.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so that is very, very interesting. And so the question I have again is I think it's a comment that many people are going to start throwing in is by people who have small businesses. Let's say, example, a certain Mami Put who sells fufu and uru somewhere. And or in a barbing salon, we have many of them littered in the streets of in the country. How do they include their VAT in their income?
Well, let me not take the example of Mami Food or Barbing Salon. Let me take the example of Ben Sikines. We have them.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes, Ben Sikines. They actually have, I think they are very organized right now. They actually have an association, and the government has actually tried to regulate their business, where they actually have a small token to pay as they have their own some sort of patent or insurance they pay, to run their little business around. Now, when they go to do maybe get their insurance or license, they are being sensitized on their income. It's your responsibility, to add it onto what your client pays you. Because at the end of the day, you are the one reporting to the taxation office saying this is what I've made, or when they'll be after you. Because in the market, when we go to our local markets like the Mokolo market in Yaoundé, they actually come to the market and they come to these mommy food, you call them, who are actually selling there, telling them, mommy, we've come to collect today. Once you go through that experience once, twice, it starts sticking to your brain. It's a wake-up call. Then you would know if maybe you were asking 200 francs for fufu and eru, then you have to step it up to 225 francs, because you start taking into consideration that when the taxation office comes, you have to do a debit.
Okay, great. Yeah. Thank you very much. Before we go to the next part, I think you discussed a little bit about the importation and exportation of goods, some of the legal, where to find an expert who can assist you in clearing your goods. So Adeline just mentioned that she has some little insights on that. So I'll call her to give us some of the little information she has.
Okay, hiya everyone. Okay, just to add a little bit to what Mildred has said. When you have your goods that you need to clear in the port, from what I have learned in my experience, remember I do corporate communications, and one of the things that I do is order the right branding material for my clients. So most often, because the quality that we do produce in Cameroon is not up to standard, if I have a longer time frame, I order from abroad. And what I have noticed over the years is that you can go to Goose, which is an office that can help you with clearing agents. But if you go to the port, the airport or the seaport, you ask for the requirement. They will give you the requirement quite all right. And the prices that are written on the requirement are what you are supposed to pay. Now, what sets you apart is your attitude towards the way you approach these people working in the different offices that you have to go to. Now, there is a total level of reluctance with dealing with issues, especially when they know you are in a hurry and you want to get these things out quicker. So my advice to you is, once you have these documents with all the requirements and all the prices, make sure you give yourself enough time. Say, for example, if you need this product in 2 weeks' time, give yourself 6 weeks' time. Because the truth is that they're not going to hold these things forever. So follow the procedure. You're not going to pay a dime more than you have to pay. I have imported magazines when I started, and I still do, because part of the corporate communication and services that I provide is printing corporate magazines. And now I do print corporate magazines for companies. When they come in, I know that by law, to import anything that is paper is free of charge. You don't pay a dime. And once these magazines have been sent to Cameroon, I go to either the DHL or the airport or the port, and I present what is on my shipping documents. These are magazines, these are books, these are paper. They open the boxes, they see that they are papers. I don't have to pay a dime. And I know that. Some of them might say, oh, no, you have to. I know my right. I don't have to pay it. And I have never, ever paid a dime to import print materials, paper, magazines in Cameroon. So that is my right, and I do know it. If you know your right, then as Mildred just said it, you're not going to spend anything more than you have to spend. So please, people, go to the right offices, know your right, print it out and take it to them. But then keep your attitude really, you have to be nice, because they truly believe in, if you want to show us that you can, then you're not going to have it, and they can frustrate you. So go there, be the fool, be nice, and get your thing out of the port without any hassle. That's what I'll add.
Great, thank you. And like you just stay there, Adeline, because we are moving to the next portion, and this is about from all your experiences. You've mentioned your experiences, the challenges you face, some of your success stories. So if you want to advise Harry, who is very interested in doing business in Cameroon, anyone who is out there, even in Cameroon, who wants to do business, what would be your advice and what would be the recommendation based on the challenges you faced? I know you, like Mildred, and you already mentioned some of them, but I would just like you to highlight for that. Then I'll bring Roland as well.
I'll start by thanking Eddie NT at who commented 2106. Eddie, if you're still there, I really truly want to thank you. You just made a great point, at 906, that you have to invest in an accountant first thing first. Even if it is a small business, if you are starting, get an intern who just graduated as an accountant. The biggest mistakes that I've done in my business, I can say, is not involving an accountant on the onset, because it could have saved me a lot of money. This is from the basic things like petty cash to payrolls, and being able to separate your business money from your family money.
Personal money, yeah.
Yeah, from your personal money, because most often salaries have come from my private account or the family money. Bills payment have come from the company's money. Family trips has been sponsored by corporate money without any account.
Yeah.
So it made it so difficult for me to actually structure the business as professionally as I would have wanted to. This is purely because I didn't have that initiative to take an accountant at the beginning of the business. The second thing you need to know is setting up a business in Cameroon. You need to identify the type of clients that you want to have on your database, the type of client that you want to serve. What are the values? What are the things that you want to do? Now, in the past, I've turned down a lot of clients purely because our values did not match. The other thing is I've learned over the years how to say no. Sometimes you need to do your due diligence and find out who the particular type of client is. For example, a client might tell you, oh, you're my number 8 PR executive that I'm involved in, and find out what happened with the other 7. Why is it that within the last 6 months or within the last 3 years, they've had up to 8 PR executives on their board? And then the third thing you need to know when you're setting up a business is make sure you follow the procedure. Start off maybe as an entrepreneur or a sole proprietor, as Mildred rightly said. Because with this, you have the flexibility of making mistakes, which I did. You make the mistakes, but then the cost to your money is not going to be as huge as it would have. Even if you have a lot of money to invest, try to make sure you either go through partners or consultants who have got expertise in dealing with the kind of business that you want to set up. If you want to set up a small business, make sure you do follow the startup from the bottom. And maybe in the next 1 year, you can say, okay, I want to go to a SAR, I want to go to a this, and I want to go to a that. Give yourself the time to grow. Because taking the time to grow will make you grow faster, will make you learn, will help you to correct your mistakes before you make them bigger ones. So that's what I can say.
Okay, great. Thank you very
much. Insurance. Sorry, Dolly. Thank you, Dolly Mott.
Yeah, I'll come to that. Yes, I'll come to that. Yeah, because like someone actually said, one of the biggest problems when I put up the post, like there are 2 problems, and I will come with the one on insurance and the one on trust, like I mentioned. So please do well to remind me if I forget. So, Tress, I think you probably be asking the same question I asked Adeline to Roland, for him to give us some of the recommendations or suggestions or advice he would give to you, because I know you are a strong business advocate and want to go back to Cameroon like yesterday to set up a business, and what advice he would give to you. So
Roland, so far I have been scared than being motivated. What I would need for you is to convince me to alleviate those fears and those because I've been the stories are more scary than more encouraging. So for a guy like me that has been scared out of the room with the experiences that you, Adeline, have had starting your own businesses, what incentive, what motivation, what can you tell me to keep going other than just forge ahead and fight and it's going to be good? So go ahead. Roland, you there? Roland?
Hey, Roland, are you there? Okay, I think we lost Roland there. I can actually see him active, but there may be some issues. Actually, if Roland is not there, there is in one of the talk shows in Cameroon a few days ago, I think like 2 weeks ago, there is this interesting conversation that took place in Vision Cat. I'll try to play that and ask you people to comment on it before we bring Roland, because we are running towards the end of the show. I know we've been keeping you here for a very long time, so just give me
keep going other than just forge ahead and fight, and it's gonna be good. So.
Yeah.
L'arrêt des engagements aujourd'hui, on gagne en mois. C'était à l'époque en novembre qu'il y avait arrêt des engagements. Aujourd'hui, on monte en octobre, en septembre. Parfois, même sans proclamer clairement qu'il y a arrêt des engagements, on n'engage plus. C'est-à-dire qu'il y a une instruction informelle qui est donnée pour ne plus engager les dossiers dans l'administration, uniquement certaines charges qui sont stratégiques, qui sont priorisées à ce moment-là. C'est-à-dire qu'on ne paye plus de rappels, on ne paye plus des dossiers d'avancement, les prestataires ne sont plus payés, la dette intérieure ne fait que gonfler parce que l'État est dans l'incapacité de pouvoir payer. Mais on dit que la catastrophe ne survient que lorsque la LEA rencontre la vulnérabilité. On est dans un environnement généralisé de catastrophes. Mais cette catastrophe est d'abord due à un problème de gouvernance générale. Parce que si on veut simplement faire une fixation sur la Sonara est l'un des plus grands scandales de ce pays, comme la Camer, comme les processus de privatisation. Il y a des dossiers comme ça sur lesquels, en réalité, il faut faire un inventaire général. Tout le monde sait que l'appareil de production de la Sonara est en piteux état depuis plus d'une quinzaine d'années. Il y a eu des budgets qui ont été mobilisés, l'argent qui a été sorti par le président de la République pour mettre dans la réhabilitation de la Sonara, et ça a pris des voies compliquées. Tout le monde sait l'intérêt que Total avait dans la réhabilitation de la Sonara, et des grandes firmes qui ne voulaient pas que cet appareil de production soit réhabilité. Il y a même les choix qui sont faits à la base. Pourquoi ne pas construire une nouvelle raffinerie et mettre de l'argent qui, en réalité, équivaut à la construction d'une nouvelle raffinerie dans la réhabilitation d'un vieil appareil qui est en lambeaux. Donc, il y a des questions de fond qu'il faut pouvoir adresser. Mais nous sommes dans une crise générale. Le Cameroun est aujourd'hui à l'agonie. Si la Sonara ne fonctionne pas, les dégâts sur l'économie sont extrêmement importants. Mais il ne faut pas simplement regarder au niveau local. Regardons les investisseurs étrangers. Regardons nos partenaires économiques. Et là, ça me permet de faire un lien rapidement avec la notion de risque pays. Aujourd'hui, le risque pays Cameroun a explosé. C'est-à-dire que le risque politique du Cameroun aujourd'hui, dans tous les indicateurs, tous ceux qui analysent l'évolution de nos économies, le Cameroun est l'un des pays les plus risqués du monde. Dans cette configuration, les investisseurs étrangers ne veulent plus investir parce que les quatre principaux risques, c'est d'abord, le premier risque, c'est d'abord le risque de conflit. Sur le risque de conflit, nous avons coché toutes les cases. Le risque de nationalisation et de privatisation, lui, on peut dire que, bon, on n'en a pas besoin là maintenant. Mais le risque d'intransférabilité, le risque d'inconvertibilité, dans un tel environnement où nous protégeons les devises, parce qu'on est déjà exsangue, le risque est tellement élevé. Tous les investisseurs, mais c'est un enjeu extraordinaire. Le risque d'intransférabilité, le risque d'inconvertibilité est au sommet. Donc, sur toutes les cases du risque pays, le Cameroun a coché. Donc, il n'y a aucun assureur qui peut aujourd'hui assurer l'investissement sur le Cameroun. Parce que le risque est tellement élevé. Et quand on voit le dernier rapport du COFAS sur justement la question du risque et les derniers travaux qui ont été faits par l'ACMI sur la gestion justement du risque dans notre pays, tous les investisseurs sont déconseillés sur la destination Cameroun aujourd'hui. Et imaginez la conséquence du point de vue de la rentrée des devises. On est aujourd'hui à l'agonie. La seule solution, c'est régler le conflit au pays. Ce conflit est un conflit politique. Donc, on n'est plus au niveau où il faut faire des tergiversations aujourd'hui parce que nous jouons à arrêter notre suivi. C'est-à-dire qu'au-delà des discours que nous faisons ici, il y a des gens qui ont fermé boutique, des sous-traitants qui ont fermé des entreprises, des investisseurs qui ne peuvent plus investir. La Sonara a tellement d'argent parce que la Camer doit soit près de 4 à 5 000.
Okay, so that is just a short excerpt of a conversation which took place in one of the talk shows in Cameroon. So the reason I brought this up in particular is because like with respect to Tracy, asked a question on how we can convince him to go and invest in Cameroon, and the risk, like this guy clearly said, mentioned the risk associated with doing business or investing in Cameroon. So I'll ask Adeline and Mildred to comment on this and what is their experience, especially in the last 3 years. Maybe should I start with Adeline?
Sorry, I'm out. I'm back. Yeah, just a recap. Sorry, I was trying to share the video.
Oh, okay.
So, are you asking about the risk in investing in Cameroon at the moment?
Currently, at this moment, yeah.
I think yesterday, fortunately, I was speaking with a lawyer friend of mine, a barrister, and he said something which is truly important and interesting. He said, right now, it depends on where you want to invest and what you want to invest in. For example, if you want to invest in, say, real estate or lands, now might be the right time for you to get into that kind of a business because things are slow.
Yeah.
Things are slow. People want to sell. People want to get out of the country because of the insecurity. Now, imagine what is going to happen with this land in the next 5 years or in the next 4 years or in the next 3 years. This is the opportunity to make a lot of money if you are a good businessman, and if you do fall in the right, in the right hands. Now, if you want to invest in petroleum, for example, I'll give you a short example. Got some clients who came from Nigeria wanting to invest in the petroleum sector of Cameroon, and trust me, they brought a lot of money with them. They wanted to start with Sonara by building the dams and cleaning the place and making the place even much more better than what it is. But it would have been an investment in the drain, because look at what just happened with regard to the fire incident.
Mm-hmm.
So now businesses in Cameroon are trying to hide behind things like insurance, which is a great topic on our live comments. If you can see, I've been commenting.
Yeah, insurance.
Insurance. Business in Cameroon want to hide behind certain things. They are hiding their books. People are not declaring the real value of the business that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you come with a lot of money, wanted to invest in my little company, I might tell you, okay, I have this amount of money in my account, in my business account. This is purely because, as someone says, maybe half the client to pay you cash, and that cash is a cash that has not been declared. So auditing in Cameroon is truly difficult. It's difficult to audit a company. So it depends on what you want to invest. I would say do your due diligence, get to know the industry, speak to experts, speak to professionals, speak to practitioners, and decide based on your gut feelings and based on your findings. But please do your research.
Great. I will probably still throw the same question to Adeline. Roland was back and then he went off again. I will request him, if you could just click on the link again and join, that would be very much appreciated. We know that the internet might be a problem where you are. So if you could hear us, you could just click back and try to join, please. Thank you. So, Mildred, I'm sure you had that conversation, and so what is your comment in terms of the business environment now in Cameroon?
Thank you very much.
For investors, yeah.
Okay, like Adeline said, you have to register your business, no matter the atmosphere. That's the first guarantee you need to give yourself. Now, there is an important aspect which I wanted to mention as well. Once you have your business license, now the law gives you an obligation to register your license with the African Intellectual Property Organization, the OIPR. Now, once that registration is done, it costs 25,000 francs, which is about $50 for businessmen coming from the US. Once that is done, it has so many advantages. The advantages are it gives you exclusive ownership of your business. You have up to 10 years to exploit your goods or service this registration covers. Um, you have the right to bring up actions against counterfeiters in court if your goods are being counterfeited, or if you find yourself in a situation of unfair competition, or if there's a dispute as to the title of your goods. So it's always important to also actually register your license with the African Intellectual Property Organization. Now, if you have business owners who actually carry, whose businesses actually carry trademarks and logos with them, it's also very important to actually register those trademarks with the African Intellectual Property Organization. Registration at the start of business, if it's in black and white, will cost you 400,000 francs. If it's in color, you have to add plus 50,000 francs. It may seem much at the start of business, but mind you, once you get absorbed in business, and then you start seeing competitors around, and you may want to go and register your logo then, or your trademark, then you may find yourself in an unfortunate situation whereby your competitor has already done that registration, and you now have to spend a lot of money trying to claim what actually belongs to you, either at the tribunals, in the OAPI, or in our local courts. So those elementary information and procedures we have to respect. It's very important.
Okay.
Also, please don't break procedures. If the law says it takes a month for you to have these documents, exercise patience and actually go through that period to have the right documents. Usually, when businessmen are present in Cameroon, they're always in a hurry. Oh, they do not have time. Oh, they have to go back because they have bills to pay, and they want to break those procedures. And by the time they have in mind, they have to get things done real fast. They want to push. Pushing will mean they have to spend money, and sometimes you spend that money, you really don't end up having the required or the right documents. Sometimes you're amazed that when there are court actions which are being brought in court, you realize that a document is fake. You would not even know you're carrying a fake document. You know, most of the time is a consequence of a rush document you need, the urgency of it. And you really don't, like Roland said, once you absorb in business, you really don't have time to actually maybe even read a document or verify the authenticity
Yeah.
of the document. So please exercise some patience. If the law says it takes you 3 months, exercise 3 months. That's why the lawyer is here. You can actually contact the lawyer. You can
Yeah,
actually send a
sure.
power of
I'll ask
attorney.
them to contact you.
Yes, please. They,
Yeah.
they can actually send a power of attorney to a lawyer or a public notary for them to be able to begin with their procedures before they arrive Cameroon, so they can actually gain time. Also, it's important to insure your business.
Yeah.
You never know the unforeseen. Business insurance is not luxury; it's a necessity. Is important, especially once business starts booming, you start having serious clients. There are certain clients who would even ask you for your insurance before they go
Hmm.
into partnership with you. In Cameroon, it doesn't really cost much for you to have a business insurance. Please, businessmen, always insure your business. Look at what happened to Sonara. We don't know the cause. I'm not saying it's because they didn't have an insurance, but I'm just saying it saves a lot of unforeseen circumstances. Insure
Okay.
your business.
Yeah.
Also, please study your environment. The experience we have is I'll take the example of Roland again, who came back and he went into agriculture. Cameroon is a third world country, and we have our needs as a third world country. We have our bread and butter issues to resolve. You may have businessmen who would come with ostentatious goods, and they want business to boom in that sector. I mean, you know the country you're going to. you know I mean, you come with a luxurious car and you want to maybe open a line of business in that car, and by the time it breaks down because you don't have clients who can afford that, you say business doesn't work in Cameroon. No, you need to identify your audience. You need to know where you're going to. That's why the Chinese are beating us in our own country. because the Chinese have been able to identify the needs of Cameroonians. If you look locally around, you have lots of Chinese, even Turkish, Lebanese, um, selling very a lot of FMCGs, fast-moving consumer goods, which are needs for Cameroonians and third world countries. So please, businessmen, when you're coming to um, Cameroon or to Africa, identify the need. It doesn't make sense to get an ostentatious good. I mean, you want to come and sell to a local Cameroonian who still has bread and butter issues to resolve. True, you may have 10% of this population who may be able to afford. Well, if your target is the 10% of the population, fine, that's okay. But if you think the 25 million Cameroonians should be able to afford the authorization code, I'm sorry, don't complain, business failed. So it's also very important to be able to identify your audience, identify the needs of the Cameroonians, then you would know what type of business to be able to
Hey, Mildred, Roland is back,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna ask this question to all three, but I'm gonna bring Roland back since he's been gone for a minute. You guys currently, three of you, Roland, Adeline, and Mildred, you guys are currently in Cameroon as we speak. Could you tell us your experience with the local workforce? Because no business can grow without a quality workforce, and this is still related to the trust element. Do you have a workforce that's reliable, that is trustworthy, and that's also knowledgeable within the framework of your different businesses? I'll start with you, Roland.
Yeah, that's a very important question, also a very tough one. What we have in Cameroon.
We're sorry we lost Roland, and I'm hoping he can reconnect and then he would answer the question. Terrence, if you can work with Roland to try to get him back, but then we'll get Adeline rolling. Adeline, I know you're in the services industry. The same question applies to you with regard to the workforce.
With regard to the workforce, I would like to, my contribution is going to be based on my previous experience. Before coming solo, I've worked most of my life in a corporate environment, and I am used to certain standards and certain way of doing things because we do have policies and procedures that are being followed. Unfortunately, when I came to Cameroon and set up my business and I started recruiting, I didn't look at what I was doing as a workforce that had to have the standard or the policies and the procedures that I had back in the days, back in my, when I started off as a career woman. This is purely because the people I met were entrepreneurs and they had the very basic, and I was made to understand it is a standard. That is how things are being done in Cameroon. Oh, if you do that, the staff are going to do this. If you do that, they're going to do this. So this was a very big mistake on my part because it made me not to actually develop the culture that I would have wanted to see in my workforce today. Unfortunately for me, I am proud to say the team that I recruited when I first moved to Cameroon almost more than 5 years ago, I still have a good number of them still working with me today. So this worked on a positive for me because having recently relocated halfway back to the UK, I know I have a workforce that I can trust. Now, when it comes to expertise, I think expertise depends on the kind of leader that leads the organization, meaning who the boss is. And what I have tried to do is I've tried to empower my workforce. I've tried to manage a very flat level management system, making sure everybody is comfortable working with everybody and especially comfortable working with me. Now, the challenges that I've had in the past with working with managing my team is, I can say this openly because I want to be honest. I mean, I said I'm going to be as honest as possible. The challenges that I've had in the past is making regular payments, regular salaries. And this is purely because the service that we offer requires payments from clients. And although we have policies and in place, or although contract with clients states that you're going to be paid after a certain number of days or certain number of weeks, usually this is not the case. So these make us to be, time and again in arrears with salaries. Unfortunately, there is very little I could do about it. In the past, I spent a lot of time dipping into my private money or my family money to make payments because I know these young people dedicate their lives to make sure my business works because they believe in it. But if we've come this far and after 5 or 6 years, I still have most of them with whom I started still working with me, it means I'm doing something great. Now, what I've done to change this is I have gone to my local credit union, and I have started the process of incorporating an overdraft system whereby no matter what happens, my staff salaries are going to be guaranteed. Now, trust goes when, one, the working environment is not comfortable. Two, salaries are not coming. Three, the management is not saying anything about it or try to see with them or try to solve it. People in Cameroon, I have noticed, take it for granted. I know people who go for 1 year without paying, 8 months without paying, and unfortunately, these young people keep working, hoping that salaries are going to come. Now, you as a boss, it is your duty to train your workforce. Try and engage with them, try and train them, get that trust. Because once you have that trust, no matter the turbulence, and we've been through a lot, no matter the turbulence, they're going to stick by you and they're going to be with you. So that is what I can say with regard to the workforce, working, building trust, and building expertise.
All right, thank you, Adeline. Roland, you're back. I'll just let you round up on what you were saying in regards to the workforce and trust in Cameroon.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know. I keep getting disconnected. I would always try to reconnect back, and I hope we can share this platform. Yes, the most difficult part of doing work in Cameroon is actually the human resource. It is the most difficult. Why? Because you tend to have an expectation of them, and they also have expectations of you, which of course, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Am I on?
No, you are on.
Let's see.
We just let you be on the screen all by yourself so that the audience. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because when I see no one, I feel like I'm disconnected again.
No,
Anyways, okay. Yeah, so what I was saying was, you have expectations of them and they also have expectations of you. And many a times the disappointment comes when the expectations and the realities really do not match. So of course, there is a need and a desire for you to provide some sort of training. It doesn't matter what kind of educational background they've had. Schools in Cameroon only train them to pass through exams. It doesn't train anybody for a workforce. Only technical schools do train you for the work environment. But anyone who did more of a grammar school or any of that university, they have to still go through some training. And that training is not that which you have to put people in class to go through. It is a two-way. The candidates themselves would need to want to learn, and you also would be in position to want to train or teach them. And that relationship has to be built. The second most important aspect also in working with them is, of course, building that trust. It's a very tricky slope because people don't understand. Many a times they don't understand the value or the meaning of trust, and it might go very, very wrong ways. For me, especially, I'm in an industry where you don't need the most intelligent, the most qualified, but you need the most passionate people. being able to find passionate people is something that's tricky. You may have to go through several of them to find out one person who is that passionate. So it is that. For me, I think the advice would just be get on the ground, and you certainly would find those who want to commit. And I always say the rule of thumb is, people who want to sacrifice, who are ready to sacrifice for business, or who are not necessarily there just to work for the salaries. Because the truth about the matter is, the moment they get an offer that's better than what you're offering them, then they leave you like a bad habit. But you want people that who would want to stand with you, who would want to work with you, who want to see the business succeed, who would, spend a little extra hours just to make sure that results are being met. And of course, it's a two-way thing. Once you identify a candidate like that, you also make sure that you provide them the better ecosystem so that they could best execute the things that they have to work on. The other aspect is communication. Of course, communication from top down and from down up is very important. That two-way communication is key. Me and my teams, we share a common space, we share a common work environment. I think we have a common communication space that we all exchange a lot on, and we keep an open system wherein we are always in communication, and we treat one another as brothers and sisters. So there is no set rules that you can put out there and say, no, this is the way it has to go. Like I said, because the educational system here, it doesn't provide any uniform results. So you have to be able to customize your way to your work with your people based on how the work flow actually goes and how they resonate with the work environment.
All right. So we've come to the end of the conversation segment, and we have just one last part where it's just a recommendation where all three of you would contribute. Now, our next debate would be on education that you just ended your piece on, the quality versus quantity of education that's provided in Cameroon. So we're going to frame that conversation, and it would be something that we would like to have you on again because you're there, you're able to give your input. Now, we're doing closing remarks, and Roland, you would close last. I would start with Mildred. Terence, if you can bring her back on, it would be the same question across the board. Why would I want to invest in Cameroon? An unstable environment, security risk, a workforce that is not adapted, that is not ready, taxes that are not clearly defined, that is not readily available for everybody, an environment that is so unstable as opposed to investing in a country like Rwanda, Ghana, Nigeria, these other African countries that are ready and advertising and encouraging me to come invest in them. You guys have 2 minutes to convince me why I should invest in Cameroon.
Yeah, and sorry, Mildred, and just before you start answering, in addition to that, I mean, like, especially for Roland and Adeline, I think the other thing I would like them to mention is, like, they have all these experiences. What would, in addition to the question that Harry asked, what recommendations would you give to the government to improve the business environment? Because that is very important as well. I'm sure someone is listening somewhere.
Okay.
Thank you, Terence.
Okay. Thank you, Harry, for your question. Well, first of all, I would like to say it's our responsibility of the Cameroonians to develop our country. You cited these beautiful countries, Rwanda and all. You see their presidents every day on the street. You see the Rwandans themselves getting into activities to actually boost the economy of the country. Let's go to our next door neighbor, the Nigerians. We see them hustling. They're hustlers, they're businessmen. They've actually contributed into the development of the country. They've actually contributed into boosting the economy of their country. So why do we copy from that? True, we have all these limitations you mentioned, but we can't just lay back there and keep complaining. Come back to Cameroon, identify the needs of Cameroonians. Harry, identify the needs of Cameroonians. There's a need in the health sector. We have many Cameroonians who are trained nurses out there in the US. Come back home, come and set up health centers. Come back home, come and give your beautiful service to Cameroonians who are actually in need of the services. And let's see how we can generate some income from that. Roland, you have IT expertise, so our IT system in Cameroon is a need. Why don't you think of coming back home, setting up an IT center where you can actually train young Cameroonians, you share your knowledge with them, and see how you can set up a company and actually develop some business in that sector. We have young Cameroonians here going to India to study IT or so. I believe if you come back home, Harry, and set up an IT company, you're an expert in that company, and actually set up why not a school. You actually contribute to the development of Cameroonians, and you actually help ones who think Cameroon is so big and hardly any future. So my message is we all have a role to play in the society. In as much as we have a role to play in the society, the government has to accompany us. We should be, we should also have the humility to be able to approach multinationals, maybe NGOs, maybe to ask for loans, to ask for little finances. We should be serious in our actions, in our businesses when we are awarded these loans, these finances, we're embezzling them, and then we are not accountable for money we've received for particular projects. No. If we make ourselves businessmen and we actually get banks supporting us, we actually get institutions supporting us, let's be serious. Let's get to the bottom line of the business. If we're in the agricultural sector and we think cocoyams is needed and the Ministry of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises decide to give us maybe a little token to boost our business, let's actually get to the farms. The villagers themselves will give us cheap labor, which is available ready and cheap. In another way, you're feeding them, you're solving poverty, you're giving them revenue. I mean, and you're providing shelter to lots of Cameroonians. So I think in as much as maybe the government has its own limitations, us the Cameroonians also have a responsibility to be able to our own efforts. True, also say the complaint of the taxes are expensive and all. The government should also look into that. Try to cut down the taxes, make it conducive, make it business friendly for Cameroonians who want to come back home and invest. I mean, the government should be able to encourage business to come back home and invest.
Oh, okay, Mildred. Sorry for interrupting. It's just that we have a time limit where we need to round up. So I know the topic. If we don't cut up, we're gonna keep going. So, I'm sorry for interrupting you. I know you're putting out some really brilliant points. Adeline, I'll pose the same question to you. Why should an investor invest in Cameroon? And like Terence added, what do you think the government can do to motivate investors like you and Roland that are already investing on the ground and potential investors like myself? So you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Trace. I want to say investing in Cameroon, for me, it's not a waste of time, as someone just said in the comment box. Is that you? Yeah, it's not a waste of time at all. There's a lot of money in Cameroon. And trust me, in order for you to make that money, you need to invest some of your money in Cameroon. Now, this will take me back to what I just said a few minutes ago. Find out which sector you want to invest in. Find out the experts in the sector that you want to invest in. Give a run for your money. Put your mouth where your money is, your money where your mouth is. It doesn't matter which one comes first.
Yeah, either way.
Either way. But investing in Cameroon, you're creating opportunities, you're creating employment. Create a process. If you want to invest in Cameroon, you need to create a process. By creating a process, you need to understand what you are. Before creating the process, you need to understand what you are investing in. If you create that process professional, then you can make back that money. And trust me, when I say there's a lot of money in Cameroon, I mean it. I'm not beating around the bush. There's a lot of money in Cameroon. So if you have the capital, you study the market, then I think now is the right time for you to invest in Cameroon. Talking about security, there's insecurity everywhere. There is insecurity in Rwanda. there's insecurity in Nigeria. Now, how you go around these things depends on the kind of people that you have on your database, the kind of people that you hang around with. Staffing and expertise depends on you as a leader. How do you train them? How do you get them to trust you? How do you work with them? I mean, issue of trust is quite complicated. Now, let me go to straight to recommendation. We're speaking to the government. Are we talking about my government? Two for them. So first things first, they need to be available to everyone. Everyone has the right to have accurate and clear information. They need to write in pure English and pure French, and they need to cut off jargons. Jargons in the taxation language, jargons in setting up a business language, jargon. They need to cut that off. Two, they need to raise awareness. Campaigns are the easiest thing that they can invest their money in. Internet is free. I believe each and every ministry needs to create a Facebook page where every day they have someone to run that page. They have someone to advise people what is going on, how is going on, how they can benefit. And then number 4 or 5, I've lost track, but they need to put qualified staff. I have a cousin who recently got promoted. And when I went to her office, she said, "How do they know what to do?" Government, you need to get qualified staff to do the work, because we need these people to serve us. If you're investing your money in Cameroon, you need to make sure you have value for that money that you're investing. And then lastly, you need to create incentive. It could be recognition awards. Everybody want to be recognized. And please do recognize people on merits. That we encourage other people to come on board and make you government number 1. Far away, right? Then we get there.
Thank you, Adeline. I think that was really brilliant. And I would let Roland crown this up. Roland, over to you. Tell me why I should come invest in Cameroon, and give us recommendation. Give the government of Cameroon recommendations on how to make the business environment more attractive.
Wow, thanks. We are rounding this up. I wish I, was able to participate a lot more, but that's fine. The first thing, people will make.
Other time.
Say it again.
We'll bring you back some other time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I enjoy the conversation, and for someone like me who's been on the ground, I think I may have a lot more to share. But just for the sake of this, one thing I want to just highlight, one very primary thing, Cameroon is Africa in miniature. If you can succeed in doing business in Cameroon, you succeed in doing business anywhere in Africa. And anyone can challenge me on that, because living from Cameroon and any other country I've gone to, it has been easier doing business there simply because I have done business already in Cameroon. That's one. Two, people should not be looking at Cameroon alone. Forget about the fact that Cameroon is a country in Africa. Think about the fact that Africa maybe is the country. So Cameroon could just be where you're starting, but believe that you want to grow all of Africa. When the Chinese, they're coming to Africa, they're not only coming to Cameroon. They put their foot somewhere and then they expand it. So anyone who is trying to do business in Africa or in Cameroon and only wants to focus in one place, you are making a very, very big mistake. When Adeline says that there is a lot of money in Cameroon, she means there's a lot of money in Africa. And just like she started, she did her corporate award from Cameroon to Gabon to Ivory Coast to Senegal, and she's gone. I mean, there is leverage that you can have when you get into all these other countries. Let's not be sidelined. Let's not be focused on one little country, which is Cameroon. And of course, every other country has its issues. Before Rwanda became what it is, it had issues. Before Nigeria is what it is today, it still has issues. Any country, Syria, wherever, they have issues. So the issues that Cameroon is facing today, they're all temporary. So don't sit there and fold your arms and say that, well, they have issues today, so you're not going to come in. Please, please, don't ignore that, because what's happening right now is that the foreigners are coming into this country and they're buying out everything. Sooner or later, you guys will want to come back to this country and you become tenants. And that's very, very bad to even think of it. So secure your footprint, secure your place, and make sure that you are able to have something going on here, no matter the odds. I mean, Cameroon has been marketed very negatively, especially because you have a lot of Cameroonians who are not doing what many others should be doing, and that's fine. Not everyone is supposed to be doing something. But for those who have the mind to do something, don't ignore the fact that Cameroon is a bedrock of opportunities. There's so much here that you can gain. There's so much here that you can have. Just don't ignore it. And then talking about the government, you know, trying to advise the government of Cameroon in my own way is like you're trying to force a cow to go through a needle, you know, a needle hole. I think we may spend a little more time trying to find out what works or what they should do. For me, just keep doing what you're doing. Be the best at what you do. Define your industry sector, set up the standards, and just want to make sure that you are the very best in it. That's what we're doing, because the role we have in Cameroon right now is that we are setting the standards. We are the ones to set what the constitutions would have to revise down the road. 10, 20 years from now, the government that is in place, they would all be gone. I mean, we know that. They either would phase out old or whatever. And they would now count on those who are now coming up to be able to make the rules, regulations, and set the standards. So nothing good comes easy. We have the opportunity to make the very best. It's our own time to be able to set those footprints so that down the road, the little footprints that we've set up right now, they become the standards of tomorrow. And I believe that instead of us looking at Cameroon right now, let's look at Cameroon 15, 20 years down the road. Let's look at Cameroon when our kids are those in leadership. Let's look at Cameroon further down the road. And I'm sure that there's a lot that we would realize that we need to be doing now than not doing. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, Mildred. Thank you, Adeline. Thank you, Roland. We did not get to insert the dual nationality part of it, but we're going to create a different topic for dual nationals that want to engage in Cameroon, want to relocate to Cameroon, and the benefits and drawbacks of that. So we would invite again another audience, and we would also like to dish out invitations to you guys at that point if you're available. On that note, I would have Terence have the last word.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. This was a very educative and enriching discussion. So I very, very much appreciate and applaud you guys. Thank you for everything. Thank you for all the education. Thank you for your time. We thought it would take 2 minutes, but it took a little more than 2 hours, but it took a little more than 2 hours, 30 minutes. So I very much appreciate everything that you guys have done for the Cameroonian public. You spent all your time, so we appreciate you. On that note, we will have to end the show for today, but we would also like to let you know that our next discussion, roundtable, call it debate, will be on the current crisis going on in Cameroon. And one of our guests will be none other but someone you guys probably know, Mr. Jigita. He will be coming. He just wrote a book recently, and so we'll be discussing some of the aspects in that book. So we'll keep you posted. And so, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for everything, and good evening, everyone.
And good night to those of you in Cameroon. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.